Vethriel had made a mistake. A big one. He had spoken the wrong words to the wrong person at a government party, and now he was paying the price. The Galactic Concord had sent him to the most boring corner of the universe. Sector 7G Orion. A place where nothing lived. A place where nothing happened. A place where careers went to die. His ship, the Times Silver Drift Asterisk, carried a crew of 12. All of them were young, inexperienced, or had made their own mistakes. They were supposed to map empty space for 3 cycles. 3 long, painful cycles of looking at dead rocks and writing reports that nobody would ever read. Another day, another lifeless system, said Cora, his second in command. She was a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. She looked out the main window at the darkness of space. I counted 14 asteroids today. That was the exciting part. Vethriel made a sound that meant he was tired. His species, the Molkari, had gray skin and large black eyes. They were good at science but bad at politics. That was why he was here. We have 40 more days of this, he said. Try to find joy in the small things. What small things? There is nothing here. The Concord has mapped 97% of the galaxy. They sent us to map the remaining 3% because it is worthless. Empty. Dead. Vethriel could not argue with her. She was right. The Galactic Concord was old. Very old. It had existed for 12 million years. In that time, thousands of species had joined together under one government. They had explored almost every corner of the Milky Way. They had found life on many worlds. They had made contact with every intelligent species worth finding. Or so they thought. On the 42nd day of their mission, everything changed. Vethriel was sleeping in his small room when the alarm went off. He jumped out of bed and ran to the control center. His crew was already there, staring at the screens with wide eyes. What is happening? He demanded. Cora pointed at the main screen. We found something. A planet. It is sending signals. Signals? What kind of signals? Electromagnetic waves. Radio. Television. Digital transmissions. Cora's voice was shaking. Thousands of them. Millions of them. The planet is screaming into space. Vethriel felt his heart beat faster. This was impossible. They were in a dead sector. Nothing lived here. The Concord had checked. They had always checked. Show me, he whispered. The screen changed. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet had white clouds and green land and vast blue oceans. It was beautiful, and it was alive. Run a full scan, Vethriel ordered. I want to know everything about this world. The next hour was the longest of his life. Data poured in from the sensors. Each new piece of information made his crew gasp in shock. The planet was called Earth by its inhabitants. Those inhabitants called themselves humans. There were 8 billion of them. 8 billion intelligent beings on a single world that the Concord had never discovered. How is this possible? Asked one of the younger crew members. The Concord knows everything. They have mapped the galaxy for millions of years. How did they miss an entire species? Vethriel stared at the screen. He did not have an answer. He wrote his report carefully. He checked every word twice. Then he sent it to the Concord High Council, expecting them to tell him he had made an error. Perhaps the signals were old. Perhaps they came from a dead civilization. Perhaps his equipment was broken. The response came in 3 hours. That was fast. Too fast. 17 admirals wanted to speak with him. 3 archivists of ancient knowledge requested copies of all his data, and the speaker of the Concord herself, the most powerful person in the galaxy, demanded a secure communication channel. Vethriel sat in his chair and felt the weight of history pressing down on him. He had come to this empty corner of space as punishment. He had expected to find nothing but rocks and dust. Instead, he had found something that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Sir, Cora said softly, what do we do now? We wait, Vethriel replied. We watch, and we do not let them know we are here. He looked at the blue planet on his screen. It seemed so small, so fragile, but the signals it sent into space told a different story. This was a world of noise and energy and life. This was a world that had somehow grown intelligent beings without anyone noticing. The Concord had believed they knew everything about the galaxy. They had believed they had found every species worth finding. They had believed the age of discovery was over. They were wrong. Vethriel thought about the millions of years the Concord had existed. He thought about all the species they had met, all the worlds they had mapped, all the knowledge they had gathered. And now, in this forgotten corner of space, a simple mapping mission had found something new. He did not know if this discovery would bring joy or fear to the galaxy. He did not know if these humans would become friends or enemies. He only knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The age of discovery was not over. It was just beginning. The Concord sent their best ship to study Earth. It was called the Times Quiet Witness *, and it could hide from any sensor in the galaxy. The mission was simple. Watch the humans, learn about them, and report back. Do not make contact. Do not let them know you are there. Ambassador Yara was chosen to lead the mission. She was not like other beings. She had no body of flesh or metal. She was made of pure energy, a glowing form that could pass through walls and float through space. Her species, the Etherian Collective, were the best observers in the galaxy. They could watch without being seen. They could learn without interfering. Yara arrived at Earth expecting to find a normal primitive species. She had studied many young civilizations before. She knew what to look for. She knew what to expect. She was not prepared for what she found. The first thing she noticed was the planet itself. Earth was terrifying. The gravity was strong enough to crush most species. The atmosphere was filled with oxygen, a gas so dangerous that many worlds used it as a weapon. The planet had no protective shield against radiation from its star. Earthquakes shook the ground. Volcanoes spat fire into the sky. Storms as big as countries swept across the oceans. Any reasonable species would look at Earth and say one thing: nothing could survive there. But humans did not just survive, they thrived. Yara watched them climb mountains where the air was too thin to breathe. She saw them swim in the oceans, moving through liquid water like it was nothing special. Most species used water as a cleaning chemical. Humans played in it. They built cities next to it. They covered most of their bodies with it every day and called it taking a shower. The food they ate shocked her even more. Humans consumed the flesh of other animals. They ate plants that had evolved poison to avoid being eaten. They drank fermented liquids that damaged their own brains. And they did this for fun. They called it having a drink with friends. Yara spent weeks studying their biology. Humans were made of soft tissue and fragile bones, yet they could survive injuries that would kill a Dravith warrior. She watched a human fall from a great height, break multiple bones, and then spend months healing until they could walk again. Other species would simply die. Humans refused to die. They were too stubborn. But the most shocking discovery came when Yara accessed their history. Humans had existed as a species for only 300,000 years. In the time it took the Concord to hold one long meeting, humans had evolved from animals to intelligent beings. They had developed technology for only 10,000 years. 10,000 years. That was nothing. That was less than nothing. And yet, in that tiny amount of time, they had done the impossible. They had learned to control fire. They had built cities. They had created writing, mathematics, and science. They had split the atom and discovered the secrets of their own genetic code. They had built machines that could think. They had stood on the surface of their own moon. Yara calculated their rate of progress. It was terrifying. Most species took millions of years to develop space travel. Humans had gone from their first powered flight to landing on the moon in only 66 years. 66 years. She checked her calculations 3 times. The numbers did not change. She studied their wars next. Humans fought each other constantly. They created weapons of terrible power, nuclear bombs that could destroy cities, biological agents that could kill millions, machines designed only to end life. They had almost destroyed themselves many times, but they also showed something else, something unexpected. Yara watched humans run into burning buildings to save strangers. She saw them travel across their world to help people they had never met. She found stories of humans who gave their own lives to protect others, not for money, not for power, just because they believed it was right. They kept animals in their homes and treated them like family. They cried when species went extinct, even species that gave them nothing useful. They looked up at the stars with wonder in their eyes, not hunger. Humans were a contradiction. They were killers and healers, destroyers and creators. They waged war and built hospitals. They made weapons and wrote poetry. They were the most dangerous species Yara had ever studied, and also the most compassionate. She spent 3 months watching them. 3 months of data, observations, and analysis. When she was finished, she did not know what to think. She only knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. But humanity was coming anyway. Their technology was advancing too fast to stop. Soon, maybe in 100 years, maybe in 200, they would build ships that could cross the stars. And when they did, everything would change. Yara prepared her report for the Concord High Council. She tried to explain what she had seen. She tried to describe the strange, beautiful, terrifying creatures that lived on the blue planet. But words felt too small. In the end, she sent a message with only 3 words: convene emergency session. Then she waited for the galaxy to panic. The great chamber of the Galactic Concord was the largest building ever constructed. It floated in space, far from any star, a monument to cooperation between species. Inside, there was room for representatives from every civilization in the galaxy. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform, each one designed for a different kind of being. Today, almost every seat was filled. Word had spread quickly. A new species had been discovered, the first in 4 million years. Representatives had traveled from distant stars to hear the news. Some had never attended a council meeting before. Some had not left their homeworlds in centuries. But they all came now, because they all wanted to know the truth about the creatures called humans. Ambassador Yara stood on the central platform. Her energy form glowed bright blue as she began her presentation. Giant screens around the chamber showed images of Earth, of human cities, of the strange, soft beings who had conquered their deadly world. She started with the planet. She showed them the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the radiation. She explained the crushing gravity and the poisonous atmosphere. Many representatives made sounds of disbelief. Some laughed, thinking it was a joke. No intelligent species could evolve in such a place. Then she showed them the humans. The laughter stopped. Yara played recordings of human athletes running, jumping, and fighting. She showed soldiers surviving wounds that would kill a Dravith warrior in seconds. She showed doctors cutting open human bodies, removing damaged parts, and putting them back together. Humans who should have died simply refused to do so. The Dravith hegemony controlled 60 star systems. They were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Their soldiers were bred for battle, trained from birth to fight and kill. The Dravith War Master watched the recordings with growing concern. These humans were not bred for war. They were not trained from birth. They were just ordinary beings, and yet they could survive things that would destroy his best fighters. What manner of creatures are these? He growled. Yara continued her presentation. She showed the crystalline minds of Nexus 7, the smartest beings in known space, how humans had invented mathematics and science in only a few thousand years. She explained that humans had discovered the same mathematical principles multiple times, independently, in different parts of their world. The Nexosians prided themselves on their intelligence. They had taken millions of years to achieve what humans had done in mere centuries. The Nexosian delegate calculated the numbers in his crystal brain. At their current rate of advancement, he announced, humans will develop faster than light travel within 200 years. Possibly less. A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Yara showed them human weapons next. Nuclear bombs, chemical weapons, biological agents, machines built only for killing. The recordings were disturbing. Entire cities destroyed in seconds. Millions dead from invisible poisons. Wars fought with such intensity that the planet itself was scarred. They fight each other, observed the ancient hive queen of Kethra. Her species was the oldest in the Concord, with memories stretching back billions of years. They are not united. No, Yara admitted. They fight constantly. They divide themselves by territory, by belief, by the color of their skin. They have thousands of languages, thousands of cultures, thousands of reasons to hate each other. Then they are weak, said the Dravith War Master. A divided species cannot threaten the Concord. Yara changed the image on the screens. It showed humans working together after a great disaster. People from different nations sending help to strangers. Enemies putting aside their hatred to face a common threat. You misunderstand, Yara said. They fight each other because they have no external enemy. They compete because there is no one else to compete against. But when they face a threat from outside, they unite. They become one people, one species, one force. She showed recordings of human wars against nature, humans fighting diseases, building walls against floods, preparing for asteroids that might hit their planet. When threatened, They stopped fighting each other. They worked together with frightening efficiency. They are apex predators, Yara explained. On their world, they have no natural enemies. Nothing hunts them. Nothing threatens them. So they hunt each other. They challenge each other. They push themselves to become stronger, faster, smarter. The chamber was silent. They evolved competition into their very souls, Yara continued. They cannot stop improving. They cannot stop advancing. They will keep climbing, keep building, keep reaching for more. And one day soon, they will reach us. The speaker of the Concord, a being of light and shadow named Morathai, finally spoke. Her voice echoed through the chamber like the sound of stars dying. What will they do when they find us? No one had an answer. For 4 million years, the Galactic Concord had been the supreme power in the galaxy. They had welcomed new species, guided young civilizations, and maintained peace across thousands of worlds. They had believed they understood the universe. They had believed they had seen everything. Now they faced something new, something unknown, something that terrified them in ways they did not fully understand. The humans were coming, and the galaxy had no idea what to do about it. The council broke into chaos. For 7 days, representatives argued, shouted, and threatened each other. Alliances that had lasted millions of years crumbled. Old enemies found common ground. The discovery of humanity had shaken everything the Concord believed about itself. 3 groups formed, each with a different answer to the same question. What should we do about the humans? The first group called themselves the Isolationists. They were led by the ancient Hive Queen of Kethra, whose species had survived longer than any other. Her wisdom was respected throughout the galaxy. We must contain them, the Hive Queen declared. Build a wall of warning beacons around their star system. Place sensor nets at every exit point. Let them develop in isolation. Perhaps they will destroy themselves. Their own history shows they have come close many times. Nuclear weapons, climate damage, diseases they created in laboratories. If we wait long enough, the problem may solve itself. Many species agreed. It was the safest option. Do nothing. Wait. Hope. The second group called themselves the Interventionists. They were led by the Molkari Coalition, the same species as Vethril, who had first discovered Earth. They believed in action, not waiting. We must contact them now, argued the Molkari representative. Introduce ourselves. Bring them into the Concord while they are still young. Teach them our laws. Show them our ways. Shape their development before they become too powerful to control. If we wait until they reach us on their own, it will be too late. They will owe us nothing. They will respect no rules but their own. This idea scared many species. Contact with a Death World species was dangerous. Humans might react with violence. They might see the Concord as a threat. The cure could be worse than the disease. The third group did not announce themselves publicly. They spoke in whispers, in private rooms, in secure communications that they believed no one could hear. They called themselves Nothing, because they did not want to be known. But everyone knew what they wanted. The Dravith War Master spoke for them in a closed session of the military council. His words were never officially recorded, but they spread through the chamber like poison. One strike, he said. That is all it would take. Their planet is fragile. Their defenses are primitive. We could destroy them before they ever knew we existed. It would be a mercy. They are too dangerous to live, too unpredictable, too powerful. Every day we wait, they grow stronger. Every year, they develop new weapons, new technologies, new ways to threaten us. We must act now, while we still can. Some species agreed. They were afraid, and fear makes people do terrible things. Ambassador Yara listened to the debates for 7 days. She heard the fear in every voice. She understood it. Humans were terrifying. She had watched them herself. She had seen what they could do, but she had also seen something else, something the others had missed. On the 8th day, she requested permission to speak. The chamber fell silent. Everyone wanted to hear what the being who had studied humans most closely had to say. Yara floated to the center of the platform. Her energy form pulsed with emotion she could barely control. You speak of humans as monsters, she began, as threats to be contained or destroyed. You see their weapons and their wars. You see their capacity for violence. And you are afraid. She paused. letting her words sink in. But you have not seen what I have seen. The screens around the chamber lit up with new images. A human woman running into a burning building. She emerged carrying a child that was not her own, a stranger's child, while flames consumed everything around her. This human risked her life for someone she had never met, Yara said. She had no reason to do this. No reward was offered. No law required it. She simply could not let a child die. Another image. A human doctor in a distant land, surrounded by sick and dying people. She had left her home, her family, everything she knew, to help strangers who could give her nothing in return. This human spent her life fighting diseases in places most of her species will never visit. She knew she might die. She went anyway. More images. Humans adopting abandoned animals. Humans protecting forests they would never walk through. Humans crying over the death of the last member of another species. They bond with everything, Yara said. Not just their own kind. They take animals into their homes and treat them as family. They mourn when species go extinct. They feel pain for creatures that cannot thank them or repay them. She turned to face the Dravith Warmaster directly. You call them predators. And you are right. They are the greatest predators their world has ever known. But they are also protectors. They use their strength to defend the weak. They fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Her voice grew stronger. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are unpredictable. But they are also brave and kind and full of wonder. They look up at the stars and feel not hunger for conquest, but hope. They want to know what is out there. They want to find others like themselves. They want to not be alone. Yara's form blazed bright. The question is not what they will do when they find us. The question is what we will do to deserve their friendship. Will we greet them with fear and weapons? Or will we offer them our hand and welcome them to the stars? The chamber was silent. No one had an answer. Not yet. The debate continued for 3 more months. Representatives argued until they lost their voices. Some species threatened to leave the Concord entirely. Others demanded immediate action, one way or another. The galaxy had never been so divided, but slowly, something began to change. Yara's words had planted a seed. It grew in the quiet moments between arguments. It spread through private conversations and personal reflections. Species that had feared humanity began to wonder. Species that had wanted to destroy humanity began to doubt. The isolationists lost support first. Their plan required patience, and the galaxy had none. Waiting millions of years for humans to destroy themselves was not a solution. It was giving up. The Eliminators lost support next, though they had never admitted their numbers publicly. The idea of destroying an entire species simply for existing felt wrong. It went against everything the Concord had built over 12 million years. They had welcomed thousands of species into their family. They had never committed genocide. They did not want to start now. The interventionists held on longer. Their plan seemed reasonable. Contact humanity early. Shape their development. Guide them toward peace. But even this idea began to crack under examination. Who would speak for the Concord? What would they say? How would humans react to learning they had been watched for years without their knowledge? In the end, none of the original plans won. Instead, a new group emerged from the ashes of the debate. They called themselves the Welcomers, and their idea was both simple and revolutionary. Do nothing. Yet, watch humanity, study them, learn from them, but do not contact them. Do not interfere with their development. Let them grow on their own terms, make their own mistakes, find their own path to the stars. And when they finally built a ship that could cross the vast distances between suns, when they finally left their home system and stepped into the wider galaxy, the Concord would be there waiting for them, not with weapons, not with chains, not with demands or conditions, with an open hand. The vote was close. Many species still had doubts. But in the end, the Welcomers won. The Galactic Concord would take a chance on humanity. They would trust that the strange, dangerous, beautiful creatures from the blue planet deserved a place among the stars. The Council gave Ambassador Yara one final task. She was to prepare a message, something that would be sent to humanity the moment they crossed the boundary of their own star system. This message would be the first thing humans heard from the galaxy. It would shape everything that came after. Yara worked on the message for a long time. She thought about everything she had seen on Earth, the wars and the kindness, The destruction and the creation, the fear and the hope. She wanted to capture all of it in a few simple words. When she was finished, she presented the message to the council. It was translated into every human language, encoded on every frequency they could detect, and loaded into satellites that would wait at the edge of their system for centuries if necessary. The message said this: "Welcome, humanity. We have watched you for a long time. We saw you crawl from the mud of a world that tried to kill you. We saw you stand up, look at the sky, and refuse to accept your limits. We saw you survive what would have broken any other species. Your planet is a death trap. Your sun burns you with radiation. Your ground shakes and splits. Your weather tries to sweep you away. Everything on your world evolved to compete, to fight, to survive, including you. You should not exist. You should have died 1,000 times, but you did not. You are still here. You built tools and cities and machines that think. You reached up and touched your moon. Now you have reached even farther. We have seen your darkness. We know about your wars. We know about your weapons. We know about the terrible things you have done to each other. You carry violence in your hearts. You always have. But we have also seen your light. We have seen you run toward danger to save a stranger. We have seen you give everything you have to help someone you will never meet. We have seen you love creatures that are not like you, protect lands you will never walk through, and cry for species you could not save. You are both the best and the worst of what life can become. You are destroyers and creators, killers and healers. You hold fire in one hand and water in the other. The galaxy is old. It has been quiet for a very long time. We have grown comfortable. We have grown slow. We have forgotten what it means to struggle, to fight, to reach for something just beyond our grasp. We were waiting for something, though we did not know it. We were waiting for you. You carry a fire that we lost long ago. You rage against the darkness. You ask why not. When others ask why, you do impossible things and then look for the next impossible thing to do. We do not know what you will become. We do not know if you will bring peace or war, creation or destruction. Perhaps you do not know either, but we have decided to find out. Come, children of Earth. The stars have been waiting for you, and we believe you will make them interesting again. Welcome to the galaxy. The satellites were launched in secret. They drifted to the edge of the Sol system and went to sleep, waiting for a human ship to wake them. Somewhere on Earth, a species that did not know it was being watched looked up at the night sky and dreamed of the future. They had no idea what was waiting for them, but they would find out soon enough.